There will always be a place for single-player games, mainly because there's something special about being gripped by an interactive story designed to thrill and delight you. The PlayStation 4 swiftly became one of the best platforms for exactly this type of game, offering up a variety of high-quality experiences for those who like investing in cool characters or exploring a new world. And with the PlayStation 4 now having passed the story-centric baton to the PlayStation 5, we thought it worth running through our top picks for the 10 best single-player PS4 games currently available. From alternate history first-person shooters to post-apocalyptic open-world games where you must wrestle with robot dinos, the following is a meticulously chosen list of the 10 best PS4 solo outings out there. I'm Aaron from Console Deals, now let's take a look.
Put the fighting spirit back in the American people. Ignite a revolution.
2017's follow-up to the modern reboot of the Wolfenstein series came out guns blazing, setting players in the blood-laden shoes of BJ Blazkowicz on a Nazi-slaying ride that felt slick and fresh. Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus successfully advanced the formula by having you fight on US home shores, introducing a whole host of creative weaponry for you to deal death with. This you do while progressing through a meaty campaign that further explores BJ's mindset and a bleak version of US alternate history. It's not only one of the best single-player PS4 games, but one of the best modern first-person shooters ever, largely because it seamlessly balances tight gunplay and level design with a gripping narrative that pulls you in, further bolstered by an eclectic mix of characters that you develop genuine relationships with. No microtransactions, no live service model, just a good old-fashioned historical first-person shooter with plenty of bite to it.
Join us, we could always use more good people.
The advent of PlayStation 4 meant the time was ripe to revisit certain classic video games through a modern lens, and arguably the best example of this done right was 2019's remake of Resident Evil 2. Originally released for the PS1 in 1998, this new adaptation takes the same story, characters and setting, but retrofits it onto the skeleton of a 21st century third-person shooter. The result is an intensely creepy survival horror experience where you must explore a zombie-riddled police station, uncovering the secret behind the outbreak. Resident Evil 2 succeeds in scaring you thanks to the dankly grim atmosphere and mood it sets in the environments, brought to life more so by Capcom's impressive RE engine, which portrays zombies gooier than ever before. Much like the original, there are 2 campaigns in total to complete, with the same events playing out from both Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield's perspective. Can you stomach this chilling story twice though, is the question. You should, because it's one of the 10 best single-player PS4 games.
The whole place is coming down.
Hand over the sample.
Remedy's first game since its breakaway from Microsoft as a first-party studio, Control surprised everyone with its wacky premise and merging of gunplay with the supernatural. The entire game takes place within one location, the oldest house, a brutalist building that plays home to a weird organisation responsible for investigating the Earth's mysteries. You enter this place as Jesse Faden in the attempt to track down your missing brother, navigating the spiralling halls and progressing ever deeper into the madness. Control stands out from the sea of other single-player shooters these days simply because it isn't worried about being strange, pulling away from the gritty aesthetic of many others to keep on surprising you. Jesse acquires new power-ups and abilities the more the narrative goes on, changing up the gameplay so much that the Control you first load up at the beginning is nothing like what you'll be playing towards the end. Lynchian, bold, and gripping all the way through, Control is a great solo PS4 game.
Three separate wars. And all these years later, no one has found it.
While Nathan Drake's story was neatly tied up into a bow in Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, his legacy lives on in this perfectly paced spin-off adventure with side characters Chloe and Nadine sharing the lead role. Uncharted Lost Legacy is great because it's a refined version of all the Uncharted games that came before, seeing you undertake thrilling puzzle set pieces and shootouts, all while still finding the time to expand the format with a new open-ended area. Rather than set you on an adventure that takes place across the globe, Uncharted Lost Legacy is a more laid-back affair. The majority of the game, for example, takes place within India's Western Ghats, as Chloe and Nadine attempt to track down an object important to the former's family history while hot on the heels of an evil warlord named Asav. This is one of the best single-player PS4 games because it's a healthy dose of Uncharted action that doesn't outstay its welcome.
Civil war. Stamp out the bloodline of the young king.
My son, you're old enough now. My father's spear holds a certain burden, but you're ready.
Just when you think Ubisoft couldn't make a world more engrossing than the ancient Egypt it presented in Assassin's Creed Origins, the AAA developer outdid itself once again with the release of Odyssey. This is a living, breathing rendition of ancient Greece you can explore at your own pace, tracing back either Cassandra or Alexios' family history while undertaking the role of a stealthy assassin. The location is bigger and better with lots to see and do, and you're easily looking at upwards of 60 hours to finish Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's incredibly easier for both newcomers and veterans to dive into the beauty of Odyssey, with the game taking place before every other Assassin's Creed before it. This lack of baggage aids in exploration as players can simply treat it as a Greek-set open-world RPG. Cassandra and Alexios are fully upgradable too, making your efforts to take down the Templar Order meaningful and worth it. This is one of the best single-player PS4 games and one of the best the series has to offer overall. In many ways, there are only two types of gamer on the planet. Those that have already experienced The Last of Us, and those that are yet to play The Last of Us. While originally released at the tail end of the PS3 generation, this poignant, narrative-driven game was quick to make the jump to PlayStation 4. Players take on the role of Joel, a smuggler past his best, attempting to survive the infected post-apocalypse. Eventually, however, a girl called Ellie enters his life, offering hope of a cure. Gameplay is a mix of stealth, gunplay, and exploration, in what is best described as an ambitious road trip where Joel and Ellie must rely on each other to avoid the nightmarish clickers and thwart them when required. Surrounding this is The Last of Us' strong emphasis on narrative, which sees it rival the best stories told in books and cinema. If you needed proof that video games can be emotionally affecting, look no further than one of the best single PlayStation 4 games in The Last of Us Remastered.
It can't be for nothing.
You coming, buddy? Okay.
Having already created one of the most realistic renditions of modern day life with Grand Theft Auto 5, Rockstar quickly returned to the time of the Old West to deliver players a fully developed cowboy simulator. Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually a prequel set before the events of the first Red Dead, released in 2010, offering interesting context to a period where the time of the frontier was rapidly dying. Rockstar's sequel is notable for its much slower pace compared to a lot of other open-world games, truly letting players inhabit the role of Arthur Morgan. As a member of Dutch's Gang of Outlaws, missions range from having you undertake train robberies to simply having you survive drunken bar fights. All this you do while increasingly becoming invested with this eclectic ensemble cast of characters. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best single-player PS4 games simply because it places more emphasis on story than most other open-world games out there, surrounded by an incredibly faithful Wild West set to transport you to a whole new period of history.
Do as you're goddamn told.
Guerrilla Games is a first-party developer previously known for creating the Killzone series of games. However, when let off the leash by Sony to work on something new, the studio got a chance to flex with a brand new open-world RPG set in the far future, where machines and man roam the Earth together. Horizon Zero Dawn centres on the exploits of Aloy as she attempts to traverse this world, getting to the bottom of her origins and the reason for these dino-like robots to exist. Horizon Zero Dawn is notable for its unique approach to combat, whereby tactics are just as vital as pure brawn, due to each machine type having their own weaknesses and moves you must account for. Lay traps, craft more powerful weapons, and upgrade Aloy's armour to give yourself a far easier time at surviving in this post-apocalypse. Experience an America unlike our present day, and fend for your life while surviving in the beautiful but dangerous landscapes of Horizon Zero Dawn. CD Projekt Red's modern fantasy epic is a masterclass in RPG design, setting players off within a vibrant location rife with monsters and miscreants, with you being the only person able to combat both. Geralt of Rivia is a witcher, a genetically altered human that's purpose is to slay these creatures. However, it's the relationships and sprawling map filled with stuff to do that makes this third chapter into the acclaimed series well worth a look for anyone looking for a great single-player PS4 game. At your disposal is a suite of magical abilities and weaponry for Geralt to master, letting you approach every combat scenario much differently from the last. Couple these unique gameplay aspects with top-notch voice acting and an incredibly well-told story, then you have one of the best fantasy RPGs ever created. Think of The Witcher 3 as Skyrim, but so much more, as there's up to 200 hours worth of content and world to get lost in while playing The Witcher 3, with many considering it one of the greatest games of the PS4 generation.
Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that.
A long-standing PlayStation franchise that's origins date back all the way to the PlayStation 2, forget everything you think you know about God of War for this latest PS4 interpretation. Picking Kratos out from the world of Greek mythology and setting him within a totally new Norse environment, God of War centres on the relationship between the former God of War and his son as they traverse this rich and detailed setting. Primarily a third-person action game with RPG elements, the entire game takes place using a one-shot camera, meaning that there are never any breaks in the narrative. Whereas previously Kratos wielded his infamous Chains of Chaos to cause destruction, here it's replaced with a Leviathan axe that he can throw and recall at any time. This adds an extra degree of depth to God of War's brand of melee combat, as you lay waste to legions of enemies and slay everything from golems to dragons as strategically as possible. God of War is the absolute definition of a vision perfectly executed, taking a franchise that was flagging before and pushing it into a bold new direction. It is, therefore, the very definition of a great single-player PlayStation 4 game. And that's just about it for the story-driven PS4 games most worth your time. Be sure to let us know in the comments which you have enjoyed the best, and if you're still in need of PS4 recommendations, take a look at our honourable mentions by reading the written version linked in the description below. Then, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for even more content like this. Until next time, happy gaming!